Hi everybody, it's Doreen, and I'm back today with a card in the shape of a tag that I made for PoconoPam, who is known as Pam, but her YouTube channel is PoconoPam. I wanted to make something special for her because she makes me laugh and I enjoy watching her videos, and I specifically like the new series that she started with her husband called Table Scraps. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, you should check out her channel and check out her husband, who's known as Ruckus. They really make me laugh. They put them up on Fridays, and basically Pam is going into talking about her scrapbooking, and Ruckus gives his comments of what he thinks about scrapbooking. One of the things that he did on the first video, he asked, why is it that when we scrapbookers make our videos, we always start them out with, hi everybody, or hello, or hey y'all. And I catch myself when I'm making my videos now and I say hi everybody, I start thinking about that and I kind of chuckle. So come on and join me and see how I made this card. And make sure you check out PoconoPam and Ruckus. Hey everybody, before we get started and I show you how I made PoconoPam or Pam's card, I'm going to go over the supplies that I use to make the card. Okay, of course, one of the things that I used was my Gypsy. I use my Gypsy a lot to make a lot of my cards. And I'm using the Elegant Cake Art cartridge. It's the Martha Stewart. And I'm using the Calligraphy Collection cartridge. I'm using this rubber stamp set that I picked up from Joann's. It's by TPC. It's called Card Crafting. And I got a feeling I'll be using this one a lot. Sorry for the glare. I'll be using my X-Acto knife, my Crocodile, my Tim Holtz scissors, and I'm going to be adding some fiber. And I'm going to be using, believe it or not, these dental floss threaders. And I'll show you what I'm using that for. I'm using the Swiss Dots Cutterbug folder. My McGill stylus, I'm using the 5mm size. My McGill mat. The Quick Dry Scotch adhesive, my 2-way zig pen, and I'm using the following ink cartridges: Tuxedo Black by Memento, Stampin' Up! Only Orange, and Stampin' Up! Tempting Turquoise, some sponge daubers to ink my edges, my Stamp-A-Majig, the Martha Stewart Ribbon Loop Punch, my McGill Tag Punch, and I'm going to be using the 1 1/4 by 2 2/16 tag. And then I'm going to be using these We Are Memory Keepers eyelets. It's the warm metal and it's the wide ones. Now I picked these up from Jewel. Her YouTube channel is Jana Vials and her website is thejewelbox.com. I'm going to be using, of course, my ATG gun and my score pal. So let's get started so I can show you how I made Pam's card. Okay everybody, I'm going to bring up my supplies that we're going to use so I can show you how I made Pam's card. Okay, first of all, my card, I used my Gypsy to cut this out. And what I used was from the Calligraphy cartridge. And that is on page 71. And it is this tag right here. And it's listed as the icon gratitude. And it's key number 40 if you're using your Gypsy. Now, I went ahead and I cut this as if this was going to be a 5.5 by 8.5 inch card. But what I did was I first created one tag, and then I took and measured another one out and welded the two together so that it would end up being 8.5 by 4.25. Or I'm sorry, 8.5 by 5.5. And then I scored it in half. So I'm going to show you what that would look like on the Gypsy. So it looks like this using the Gypsy. Tag itself, you have to hit your icon button, your shift lock, and there's the tag as key number 40. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. So now I just put 2 of those here, and then that put them both on my mat. And then I took them and welded the 2 together. And it ended up making it, well, it says on my Gypsy 5.51 for the height and 8.24 for the width. So once I had those 2 welded together, I then went ahead and cut them out. And then I used my score buddy to crease or fold the card in half and then crease it to make it look like a card rather than just a tag. So now let's go ahead and add our top layer. And for the top layer, I just went in and I took some paper, designer paper that I had from a previous haul I did a while ago. And I cut the tag again, but this time I cut it at 5 inches for the height and 3.25 for the width. So we're going to go ahead and add this using the ATG gun. Move this out the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get my tape on my edges. And then down in the middle here. And I'm going to go the long way so I can get the top of the tag where it's scalloped at. And then I'm going to open up my card and then add that top layer on, like so. And then I do have some of the adhesive on the outside edges, so I'm going to use my adhesive remover to get that off and remove that. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and add my ribbon loop that I cut out using the Martha Stewart ribbon loop. And what I did was, this is just some orange cardstock from some of the cardstock I got from work that they were throwing away, and I took that and ran that through my Swiss dots folder and punched it out, and I realized that I've gotten it actually wider than what I really needed it to be. But that's because I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and cut off the edges. I just, for right now, want to measure it out and see where it is. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and use my Scotch adhesive quick dry glue, because I've made a couple of tags that I want to stick inside there. so I don't want to use the glue gun. I want to make sure I can get this out. So I'm just going to put just a little bit on the edges. A real thin line of it. And I'm going farther over than I need to, because as I said before, remember, I'm going to cut that off. So we're just going to put some on this side first, and then the other side. And I'm only going to do it down at the bottom. I'm not going to do it at the top where the loops are. So I'm going to lay this side down first. Oops. I also need to put some along here as well. I didn't plan this card out before I decided to make this video, so this is going to be a work in progress. So I'm kind of making the card as we go. I kind of knew an idea of what I wanted to do, but we're going to find out how it comes out. Okay, so now, like I said, I have that glue there, and I'm just going to wipe that off real quick, and then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and just cut that off. So, and I probably should move this paper, and I'm just going to bring this down and get on my cutting mat so I don't cut my paper. Okay. So there we have it. Like that. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add our word surprise. Now, this comes from the Martha Stewart Elegant Cake cartridge, and it is on page 56. It is key number 21, and you're hitting your icon feature for the word surprise, and then for the shadow, you're going to hit the shift and your phrase. And I cut that at 1 1/4 inches. Okay. And then I layered it. So that's going to probably go about right there. But before I lay it down, I just want to take and stick my tag in, because I need to see how far I can come down to add the surprise. And then I want to make sure I put my flower on as well. And I probably should not have glued this if I want to get my tag to stay in there. But that's okay. We'll just put it in there like that. We'll add the word surprise, and then I just want to put my flower there so I can see how far down I need to add the word surprise. So I'll put it all right there. So I'm going to use my Tombow adhesive, or not my Tombow adhesive. I'm going to go ahead and use my two-way zig pen to put this on. And I'm going to go all the way around. And I probably could have used my Xyron too to do this, but that's okay. And let me get my tweezers so I can place it exactly where I want it, which is right there. And go ahead and lay that down. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to take my Tombow adhesive and just put a little bit of tape on the edge here, because I want to get this ribbon loop to lay down. I probably should have just went ahead and not glued all the way as far up as I did for the tag. But as I said before, I knew what I wanted to do, but I hadn't really laid it out to see how it was going to come out. So there. So now what I can do is any tape that I have, I'll just use the adhesive remover to get it up. And I think I still have room to add my tag if we lay it that way. And then I have another one that we'll put behind it. So there. Those fit. Okay. So now the next thing we need to do is I want to go ahead and I'm going to add some fiber, because as I said, this is going to be like a tag, but it's actually a card. So I'm going to take my crocodile and punch a hole, and I'm using the larger size hole, and I'm going to punch a hole right in the center, which is about right here. And I'm going to do it on just the front of the card, not the back, because we do want her to be able to open it. And I'm going to take my eyelet and place that there. And then go ahead and use my crocodile again. And I got to get a good grip on it. Make sure that you have it down, and then you're just going to punch down. There you go. So now it has been added. So the next thing I want to do is I'm taking my fibers. Now, what I use to put my fibers through my eyelets is the dental floss threaders. I thread my fibers through the dental floss threader. I don't know if you can, it's kind of thin, so you might not be able to see it. And then I run that through my hole, and then I kind of pull so that I get my fibers through. And then I just take and I pull it apart. They're not that expensive. And I make a knot with my fibers. And it ends up coming out like that. Then I go ahead and I trim it. I'll use my Tim Holtz scissors. Oh, I had a little glue on there. And then I just trim. So now it looks like she has a tag, but it's really a card. So the last thing I want to go ahead and add on the front is this flower. Now, to make this flower, okay, it's the Mother's Day Bouquet cartridge. It's one of the seasonal cartridges. And I'm going to be using this one to make some flowers for Mother's Day when I make my cards. So it is this flower right here. And what I did was I started out cutting each layer. And I started at 2 inches. And I went down 1/4 of an inch for each one until I was down to 1 inch. I wouldn't cut it any smaller than 1 inch because it might not cut out correctly. So it would be, if you're using your gypsy, I'm going to tell you which key it is. It is key number 35, and it looks like that. Okay. So I want to put that about right there. I actually kind of want to put it on top, but it's not going to work because of all this. I've got so many fibers up there, so maybe if I sit it like that, that'll work. And I'm going to use my glue gun to do that. So we get some glue on there, and then we're going to just go ahead and lay it down and then just hold it. And it should stay there. So that's it. So the last thing we have to do is go ahead and add the tags. So what I've done is I've cut out 2 tags using the Marvy tag punch. And I've stamped on one, "Thanks for making my day." And the other one I've stamped from one craftaholic to another. And what I'm going to do is I've also stamped them out in this designer paper. And I'm going to take and put this on the back, and this will be on the front. But it will look like this on one side, and then when you flip it over, that's what's going to be on the back. So it's like that on the front on one of them. And I've used my stickles to color in the circles. And that one will be like that. But they will fit inside here. And then I'm going to send her a little note just to thank her for her videos. And also, while I was out shopping one day, Pam is a big fan of Audrey Hepburn, and I happened to be going to get a calendar for myself because I needed a calendar in my craft room, and I ran across this calendar that was all pictures of Audrey Hepburn, and Pam was the first person I thought of when I saw this calendar. So I also got this for her. And these are some of the pictures that are on the back of the calendar. So thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Okay, everybody, I'm back. And I know you were probably thinking when I said I was done with the card that there's something missing, right? When have I ever made a card that didn't have a little bling on the card? So I did go back and I added some bling down at the bottom. And I did have a little bling in the center of the flower, but that just wasn't doing it for me. I needed more. So I got a few of the blue string hairs there. So I went back and I did add some on the bottom, and my tags have now dried. So I've put them together so they look like this on the front, and then on the back I've taken and punched out a little flower that was part of a Stampin' Up! Punch set. I think it's called Boho Blossom. Looks like that. And then I have the "Thanks for making my day." And I've inked the edges with the Tempting Turquoise. And I've also put a little rhinestone brat in the center of the tag. And another flower on the back with the stamped image of "From one craftaholic to another." And I don't think I said before that I inked the edges of the card with the Tempting Turquoise, and my top layer I inked with the Only Orange. And for my flower, I also inked the flower with the Tempting Turquoise on some of the layers, and in some of the layers I glimmer mist them using the Sea Glass Green, or Sea Glass I believe it's called, and some silver and some pearl glimmer mist. So that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.